this side too, in case I have folks that want to watch from over here. But I'm one of the interpreters here on the island, so that means we tell you the stories. We talk for a living, basically. But what you may not know, because this here, Camp Reynolds, this part of the island was the very first part of the island that the Army, the U.S. Army, was on. And it was because of the Civil War. Now, sometimes we don't think of California when we think of the Civil War. But California had something very important. Any idea what that could be? You got to run a war with something. What do you need to run a war? Money.
Oh.
The California Gold Rush was very important to this, the Union War effort. California was a Union or Northern state. During the Civil War, which is the early 1860s, about $50 to $60 million a year was leaving San Francisco by ship, going out through the Golden Gate, around South America, and up to Washington, D.C. And it was paying for much of the Union War effort. The Confederates would have loved to have got their hands on even one of those ships, because every one of those, $50 to $60 million a year, compare that to the largest the Confederate or Southern treasury ever was $12 million. So one ship could have easily bumped up their treasury quite a bit. So in answer to that fear, since we knew there were Confederate ships out in the Pacific, the Union Army put Canon here on Angel Island, Canon on Alcatraz, which was a military installation long before it was a prison, and Canon on Fort Point, which is on the south side of the Golden Gate. Now the bridge came much later. Remember, we're talking 1860s. The bridge didn't come until the 1930s, but that was still known as, the opening was known as the Golden Gate from the time the Spaniards were here in California. Before that, a little bit even. So, those cannon formed a web of defense so that if a ship snuck past Fort Point, it was not going to get past us or Alcatraz. So, we had cannon of a lot of different sizes. We had big cannon called Rodman guns here. I'm talking just during the Civil War. There were larger guns here later. But during the Civil War, up on the points, down on the beach, the biggest guns were called Rodman guns. It's a gun I can stand underneath the barrel, essentially. One problem with the guns that were down on the beach, they were never authorized by the battle engineers. And the battle engineers took one look at them once they were installed and went, "You do know those will fire right across your pier," because they were pointed that direction. So that's not good. Just, take off your own front porch, why don't you? So we had, smallest cannon was called a 4-pounder. That's a cannon about this big. About that big. Fires a little 4-pound cannonball, a little smaller than my fist. This that you see here, it's called a 12-pound mountain howitzer. And it's a howitzer because it's a short, stubby gun. It's a mountain howitzer because the whole thing can be taken apart, put on the backs of mules, and taken anywhere you need to go. Now, if you drive around the East Coast today, you may be tempted to think that all Civil War battles took place right next to a freeway exit. That's not the case. Sometimes you had to go over mountains, through swamps. So sometimes people go, well, that's kind of a small cannon. Yeah, but if my cannon can make it to the battlefield and yours is stuck on a road 5 miles away, my cannon can win the battle. So they were developed by the French under Napoleon, but both the Union and the Confederate armies had a lot of mountain howitzers because they were so portable. The Union Army had a lot of them out here in the western states because there were not very many roads at that point out here. So, it's called a 12-pounder because of the size of the cannonball. And we'll take a closer look at that in a minute. But a 12-pound cannonball is about that big. Okay? So, what I'm going to demonstrate for you, they would have had a crew of 5 that could fire every 30 seconds. I've actually been in battle reenactments because I'm a historic reenactor. Right here last year at Civil War Days, which is June 21st, 22nd this year, where we had a 3-man crew and we were pulling off shots every 30 seconds. So it can be done. But I'm going to show you a 1-person crew who's also talking to you about all the steps. So it's going to take a little longer than 30 seconds. So let me get my gear here. here, you'll be able to come in closer, take a look at the Canon, and touch it, see if it's hot or anything like that you'd like to do. But we do ask that you don't, actually we demand, that you don't go in front of the Canon for your own safety. So, you'll also see me covering the vent hole back here. I'm doing that so air doesn't rush down the barrel and ignite any embers and send the Canon tool and possibly my arms into the bay. That would be bad. Now, we need to put out any of those embers that might be down there. So the next order is wet sponge. This is sponge. Wet sponge and dry sponge look very much alike. They're kind of like twins. And I kind of have one little clue that gives me the difference. So this would be put in the water and run down the barrel. Then we need to dry it out because, of course, Canon won't fire with wet the dry sponge down there. Now we're ready to load the Canon. We fired various things depending on what you were firing at. We were firing at ships, so most of what we carried was called case shot. It would come from the munitions factory all put together, except for no powder in here and no powder in the cannonball. This is here we would add about a ½ pound of black powder. The wooden sabot holds it all together, and this is the actual cannonball. It's hollow. We fill it with more black powder. That brings it up to the 12 pounds, and then this fuse is added. So when that flies out and hits a ship, what do you think happens? It explodes, right? All right. Now we don't want to put a metal object into the bay, and we don't want to put burning canvas on the dry grass here, even with the recent rains. It is still pretty dry. So we fire something else. We fire something a little less dangerous, still pretty powerful though. This is about 6 ounces of black powder wrapped in President Lincoln's approved tin foil. All right. All right. Put that down the barrel. And then we need to open that pack. So we use a brass pick. Brass doesn't make sparks. You don't want unintended sparks when you're doing this. That would be bad, as we say. And you run that down the vent hole and open that pack of powder. Now to light it, I could sit here trying to light matches in the wind and then trying to feed them down this hole, which you'll see a lot of fire come back out of. But I kind of like my fingers. So, we use what they used. Which is called a friction primer. In this tube is a chemical that makes a spark. This wire is twisted so that when you pull it, it makes friction. Now, of course, friction makes heat. We hope it produces enough heat to set off that chemical and then touch off the powder. I always carry a spare. Misfires do happen, duds happen. So, all right. Now you're going to learn the proper way to protect your ears, okay? And we call it the Angel Island fish. And it really is important to do as much of as you can in spite of taking pictures. So I understand the need to take pictures, that's fine. In period, they really wouldn't have done anything for their ears, so basically most artillerymen were deaf. They could not hear a thing. If you ever watch the old war movies and they've got the old guy, the old pensioner with the big earphone, probably artillery. So, you do what we tell the kids this is called Angel Island fish. You put your hands in front of your ears like gills, and then you open in front of your ears. There you go. Then you open your mouth like this. The cool thing is it's May the 4th day, of course, it's Star Wars Day. So when you do this, your thumbs are out and you can make Yoda impersonations if you want, but you know, that's totally up to you. All right, I don't have enough hands to do all that, so I wear ear protection. All right, you ready to see this cannon go off? All right, do your ears. throw me off every time I do this. And you might be able to tell that I always ask the kids, what does the smoke smell like? It smells like rotten eggs. Sometimes I tell them it smells like your brother after he's been in the bathroom.
You see the bridge?
Huh?
You see the bridge?